and we just signed a document. This is sorry about that.
Insuficiencia cardíaca, problemas renales, alguna que otra enfermedad hepática y sin duda alguna demencia. La gran pregunta es, ¿qué es lo que está pasando realmente con la salud del presidente de los Estados Unidos, Donald Trump? El jueves y viernes pasado, nadie en la prensa lo vio, ningún tipo de medio. Literalmente desapareció del mapa. Y todos se comenzaron a preguntar, ¿qué es lo que está ocurriendo? Karoline Leavitt, la secretaria y vocera principal de la Casa Blanca, salió a decir que lo que Trump padece es una insuficiencia venosa crónica. Hablamos de una condición que en teoría impide que las venas bombeen bien la sangre de regreso al corazón. Y esto termina provocando una hinchazón en las piernas. Y bueno, obviamente en el momento intentó minimizarlo como si fuese algo normal, y que según ella, el color extraño que refleja en sus manos se debe a que él saluda demasiado. Pero bueno, las imágenes nos muestran otra cosa. Exceso de líquidos en el cuerpo, moretones, maquillaje intentando tapar el daño y fallando sin duda. Lo vemos torpe, arrastrando la pierna, incapaz de coordinar movimientos. Por ejemplo, aquí tienen lo más reciente cuando se le cayeron papeles en medio de una reunión internacional.
UK, and we just signed a document. This is sorry about that. This is it.
A very important document.
Little windy out here. Give me that. We just signed it, and it's done. And so we have our trade agreement with the European Union, and it's a fair deal for both.
Y es que no se trata solo de caminar arrastrando los pies o tropezar. La cara, los labios, todos amoratados, ojos hinchados, manos con moretones, tobillos inflamados. Señores, todo esto nos indica algo muy serio. Mientras tanto, pues J.D. Vance, como buen adulador, salió a decir que Trump está en muy buena forma. Pero en la misma entrevista, reconoció que está listo para reemplazarlo si es que ocurre alguna tragedia.
God forbid there's a terrible tragedy. I can't think of better on-the-job training than what I've gotten over the last 200 days.
En Fox News, cuando la periodista Jennifer Welch habló del tema, se notaba que hasta ellos estaban nerviosos. Dicen lo contrario, pero se les nota en la voz.
Cops on January 6th. Meanwhile, this guy, this should be the lead story, is clearly suffering from massive mental decline. He is out of his mind with all of the show and tell procedures that go on in the Oval Office. 2 days ago, he gave 3 press conferences in a row. And if you don't think he has dementia, let's just discuss the time that when he was on the campaign trail that he tried to perform oral sex on a microphone. If Joe Biden did this,
I hope this
I don't
is what
think there
Democrats
would
do
be
next
an
year.
ER.
If this is the Democratic strategy, congratulations, America. You've already reelected Republican majorities as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, because Trump's approval
Listen
is in
to-
the
listen
low
to this
30s.
one.
It's in
Listen
the
to
low
this
30s
one.
right
Listen to
now.
this one.
Coming up now.
Y luego están estos despistes constantes. Donald Trump buscó a un congresista que literalmente, señores, estaba a su lado y no lo reconoció.
Thrilled to be joined by the bill's sponsor, Congressman Derek Van Orden. Where's Derek? Right here. Derek? Hello, Derek. I didn't see you back there.
Well, I'm a Navy SEAL. I snuck up.
That's he. And Mike, how are you, Mike?
Mr. President.
These two gentlemen are terrific. They are working together, and they've been working together, Mike, a long time on this. So I just want to thank you both, and I'll ask you to say a couple of words.
En otra ocasión estaba frente al presidente de Finlandia y preguntaba en voz alta, ¿dónde está Stubb? Sin darse cuenta que lo tenía al frente.
President Stubb of Finland, and he's somebody that, where are we here? Huh? Where? I'm right here. Oh, you look better than I've ever seen you look. But you've done a great job, and we wanted to have you here.
Pues bueno, Gavin Newsom aprovechó para burlarse publicando una comparación, él con apariencia saludable y Trump con un aspecto deteriorado. Ese mismo día, pues Trump volvió a humillarse al tropezar subiendo unas escaleras. No fue lo único, porque hace poco no pudo abrir ni siquiera una pequeña caja negra y tuvo que entregársela a otra persona para que lo ayudara. Y cuando preguntaron oficialmente sobre su salud, pues bueno, Caroline Leavitt salió otra vez con las excusas absurdas. Una simple irritación de tejidos blandos por dar la mano.
You guys announced the president was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency after his legs were seen swelling. How's he being treated for that? And while you were upfront about those health issues, curious if the White House would be willing to let us speak with his physician directly about those health issues. I know there were a lot of concerns about the last White House not making the physician available. Would the physician be available in this case?
I don't want to make that commitment on behalf of the physician, but it's certainly something we can look into and explore out of the effort of transparency, because unlike the previous White House, there is nothing to hide. You guys see this president working around the clock, literally 24/7, all of the time, and I will be happy to look into that request.
Can we at least get an update on how he's being treated for the swelling legs and for the hands and the other issues?
Look, you see the president every day. He's moving, he's working, he's continuing. There have been no adjustments made to his lifestyle.
Es más, incluso insistió en que todo estaba bien y que Donald Trump estaba fuerte.
Recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on.
Pero la verdad, señores, es que nunca muestran los famosos registros médicos reales. Lo único que presentaron son panfletos propagandísticos donde dicen que su salud está probada porque gana torneos de golf. Incluso médicos que trabajaron en su primera administración admitieron que cuando Trump fue trasladado de emergencia al hospital Walter Reed, probablemente había sufrido mini derrames.
His inability to say words sometimes worries me tremendously. He is having trouble word finding when he said United States instead of United States. These aren't words, these aren't slips of the tongue. These are words he can't find them, and this is happening over and over again. Comedians joke about it, but it's not a joking matter. I think there is a neurological issue that is not being addressed. And if he had an MRI of his head over there, I would be very pleased, because I think he needs it.
Is that something that could have happened in the 2-hour time he was there?
Yes, it certainly could. And it's the worry that I have is that maybe he's having small strokes. And, we had that once before in the White House when Woodrow Wilson was president. His inability to find words is peculiar and has not been explained. And I think one has to think of it as a possible neurological issue.
Y bueno, lo último fue su antiguo médico que reveló que Trump mandó a sus matones a robarle los expedientes médicos de su oficina para que nadie supiera la verdad.
Also now, Alex Bornstein is saying he was, quote unquote, robbed of the president's medical files. He spoke to you particularly about this encounter. What did he tell you?
Right, so he is saying this is a raid. Bornstein is saying that he was robbed. I specifically asked him, was a crime committed? He said they stole them, referring to the president's medical files. The they in that sentence are two men under the president's employ. The first, as you mentioned, is Keith Schiller, who was the president's longtime bodyguard here in New York. He then moved down to Washington with the president, worked in the White House as the head of Oval Office operations. The other person we understand is Alan Garten, who is an attorney for the Trump Organization. Now, Aaron, normally when you have medical records released, you need what's called a HIPAA release. We understand from Bornstein, he told us this afternoon, that was not signed. Instead, he says these two men barged through the back door, terrified the secretary, pushed aside the patient who was in there. Now, the White House is not contesting that they took possession of these medical files, but they are saying that it was not a raid. Instead, Aaron, they're saying that this was just standard operating procedure.
Pero la realidad es esta, señores. Nunca hemos visto registros médicos que puedan probar lo que Trump dice. Ni siquiera el supuesto disparo en la oreja, donde apareció con una venda exagerando la situación. Si realmente le hubieran disparado en la cara como afirman, yo creo que no estaría de pie. Lo que sí vemos son síntomas: debilidad, confusión, hinchazón, torpeza, pérdida de memoria, preguntas obvias sobre enfermedades cardíacas, renales, hepáticas, demencia. Señores, preguntas que la prensa jamás le hace a Trump, aunque recordemos que con Biden no dudaban un segundo en preguntarlo todos los días. Pues bueno amigos, los escándalos de Trump no son lo único que tenemos el día de hoy, porque recientemente un senador republicano acaba de criticar este despliegue de tropas de Trump en Washington, D.C. Y bueno, lo que quiere ahora hacer con Chicago. Vamos a hablar de este tema amigos porque nos demuestra cómo incluso dentro de su propio partido se está generando esta alarma, que es el despliegue de tropas en la capital. Una movida que llevó al extremo, tanto así que un senador republicano que es Thom Tillis tuvo que preguntarse algo muy serio. ¿Dónde y cuándo vamos a detenernos? Y ojo, que esto no solo es sobre seguridad o control de protestas, es sobre el riesgo real de un presidente utilizando el poder militar contra su propio pueblo.
The Trump administration is ramping up its war on blue cities with plans for major immigration crackdowns. Politico reports that the Trump administration is planning a surge in immigration enforcement in Boston soon. In Chicago, the planned immigration enforcement could come next week with agents from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Border Patrol, and other federal agencies taking place. DHS has also asked to use a Chicago-era naval base for facilities, infrastructure, and other logistical needs. It comes as President Trump continues to threaten to deploy the National Guard to Chicago, but Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says he still hasn't heard anything from the administration.
No one in the administration, the president or anybody under him, has called anyone in my administration and me, have not called the city of Chicago or anyone else. So it's clear that in secret they're planning this, well, it's an invasion with U.S. troops if they in fact do that.
Neera Tanden and George Conway are still with us. We had Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, on the show last week, and he said the same thing. He has not heard from the administration. I want to pull up a full screen to help play for this conversation from President Barack Obama. He used to work for during his administration. The erosion of basic principles like due process and the expanding use of our military on domestic soil puts the liberties of all Americans at risk and should concern Democrats and Republicans alike. That and just more federal agents on the streets of America feel like, when you talk to Republicans and Democrats, feels like a ploy to get people used to that, used to the idea of that. When you're walking around the streets, whether it's ICE, HSI, whether it's the ATF, a bunch of FBI agents, or actual National Guard or Marines in LA, getting us all used to that. Neera.
Yeah, I think we should be really worried that Donald Trump is basically trying to create a kind of personal paramilitary force. Some people have talked about this. Yeah. And I think the real concern is that he is basically trying to federalize local law enforcement, federalize activities in the streets to intimidate people, to make people, scared. I mean, in the streets of Washington, I recently saw a protest of about 20 people and at DuPont Circle, and there were literally 10 to 15 police cars around just a small protest. And I just think what's so fascinating to me about this, and perhaps George can illuminate us, because Republicans used to be against federal government overreach. I cannot think of a greater demonstration of federal government overreach than hundreds of billions of dollars to ICE to basically go into cities and use the National Guard and perhaps the military in blue cities across the country. This is something that out of a dystopian novel. And so fundamentally, I do think it'll take Republicans. I don't expect that to happen. But I also do think this is part of the reason why you're seeing protests across the country.
And people like Barack Obama speaking out, which is not something he is wont to do often.
And he did not speak out like this as early as this and as in the first Trump administration.
Right. George, I want now you to play the lawyer for a second. A lot of Republicans say, people voted for this. But what they didn't vote for is to have their basic rights completely denied. What do you see has happened to due process?
Well, I think that Trump is, he's taking the view that all legal process, not just due process for people who are being taken off the streets. I think he's taking the view that basically virtually all legal process is illegitimate. And that's, he attacked the court yesterday for striking down tariffs. I mean, this is really about authoritarianism at the end of the day. All this about policing and taking control of police in the cities. I mean, this is the authoritarian's playbook. I mean, in Germany in 1933, one of the first things that Hitler did was made Hermann Goering head of the police in the state of Prussia. All right, they started taking over local police forces. They want control of the streets. They want to be able to stop protests at the end of the day. This is what this is headed for. And, here in the city of Washington, what this is about is, it is about, like, if Donald Trump had control of the policing in the District of Columbia on January 6, 2021, the way he seeks to have it today, he would have called the National Guard in, and he would have sent them straight up to Capitol Hill to stop the voting of the counting of electoral votes.
The MPD is who got there before the National Guard was there and helped stop January 6th.
When we're talking about the normalization, which you mentioned, Eugene, Governor Gavin Newsom issued this warning that I want to play about Trump's long-term plans with the National Guard.
He will send the National Guard. He will send them all across this country, and he will do so through Election Day. And he'll do so working in concert, as he has with ICE and Border Patrol, to do the same. You have the largest private police force in the world. If people actually think this guy's serious about having another election, you think he's joking about 2028? Wake up. You will lose your country.
He said he will do so through Election Day, and that's a warning that Governor Pritzker has also issued. Neera, do you agree? Do you think that this is about having militarized forces on the ground around Election Day 2026?
I mean, in 2018, I think this is a very, interesting things happen. For example, in 2018, they put a massive show of force of ICE and Border Patrol in El Paso, a kind of bastion of Democratic votes. And during the Texas Senate race, I think they have a playbook, which is to intimidate voters. And I deeply worry that they are trying to normalize having a large police force on the streets during the elections. Now, I personally don't think it will work. I do think Democrats will, walk unbroken glass to vote against Donald Trump in the elections. But I do think we should all be deeply, deeply worried about what is happening in the country. And, if someone had told every American a year ago that there would be National Guard and militarized forces and in the Capitol and in Los Angeles and going to other states, that would have been deeply scary.
Yeah. I want to play, we're out of time, but I want to play Senator Thom Tillis talking about Trump's D.C. deployment before we leave.
Where do we stop? Do we honestly think that D.C. has the worst crime problem in the United States? No, it's got a crime problem. But where do we go from here? Do we go to Gary, Indiana, Detroit, pick some red state, go to Memphis, a red state, it's got a crime problem. Where do we go?
Some Republicans speaking out. Neera Tanden and George Conway, thank you both for spending part of your morning with.
Señores, lo que acabamos de escuchar es clave. No fue un demócrata, no fue un activista progresista, hablamos de un senador republicano que advirtió que si se llega a normalizar el desplegar tropas como el caso de D.C., ¿qué es lo que sigue? Detroit, Chicago, Memphis, cualquier otra ciudad que Trump simplemente le incomode políticamente. Y esa es la esencia de este problema. Cuando un presidente empieza a utilizar las fuerzas del orden como un instrumento político, Ya se está cruzando una línea muy pero muy peligrosa. No es seguridad, amigos, no es control, no es protección, eso es intimidación. Y bueno, Thom Tillis lo dijo con claridad. Washington, D.C. ni siquiera es la ciudad con más crimen. Así que esta excusa de querer mantener el orden se cae por completo. Aquí es donde entra la crítica más fuerte. Trump siempre se escuda en la idea de la ley y el orden, ¿cierto? Pero lo que realmente busca es normalizar un estado de militarización permanente. Hay que recordar, amigos, ya intentó justificar el despliegue similar en otras ciudades de mayoría demócrata. Como lo dijo en otra ocasión Obama, es este tipo de prácticas que erosiona los principios básicos como el debido proceso y las libertades civiles. Yo estoy más que seguro que algunos defensores de Trump me dirán, pero es que sí había violencia y desorden y él solo quiere mantener el control. Ahí está la trampa, porque si de verdad fuera solo por crimen, ¿por qué no envió tropas a Estados Rojos que tienen más tasas altas de violencia? La respuesta es obvia, porque no se trata de seguridad, se trata de política, de represión selectiva. Lo que Tillis preguntó, ¿dónde nos detenemos? Es la pregunta, debería ser la pregunta, que todos tenemos que hacernos. Porque si un presidente puede desplegar tropas contra ciudadanos solo por conveniencia política, hace rato ya no estamos hablando de democracia. Es autoritarismo disfrazado. Pero bueno, ahora quiero leerlos a ustedes. ¿Creen que este tipo de medidas son un mal necesario para poder supuestamente mantener el orden? ¿O es que esto es un claro ejemplo de Trump cruzando la línea hacia el autoritarismo? Los invito a que me dejen sus opiniones en la caja de comentarios, porque amigos, esta discusión es muy importante como para quedarnos callados. Una vez más, déjame tu like, comparte nuestro contenido y suscríbete a nuestro canal. Nos vemos en el próximo video.